First of all, with all the rest of the country having started playing a couple of weeks ago, Ian, what's it been like waiting?
A bit impatient, really. Obviously, it's been good to see all the fans back in all of the grounds. It's been unbelievable just watching games with full stadiums. But then we've been sat a little envious that everyone else has started and that we're not. But obviously we finished a bit later. So on the other hand, I'm happy to have the extra prep time, really. But just happy now to be getting started this week.
Yeah, you mentioned the fans. I mean, just watching Match of the Day, programmes like that, so different to the end of last season. Of course, you had a taste of it. You've now got a full season of it. I wonder whether that's a greater advantage for Notts maybe than clubs with a smaller fan base for this season upcoming.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, obviously our fans are great, and the moments when you saw them back against Weymouth and against Chesterfield at the back end of last season was brilliant to have people in the stadium, and you could feel like, okay, we're behind against Chesterfield, but the push that we got when we were attacking kind of gave us that lift to get there. So we hope that works in our favour. Obviously, a full Meadow Lane is a place that people want to come to as well. So I think will be the game that people want to be at. With this sort of a stadium, probably the best in the league. So yeah, but when we're at home and also away, I know that our fans travel really well. So we're going to get a boost, especially away from home, I think.
Yeah, a number of new signings for you this summer. How much has it helped that you've been able to get that business done pretty early and give your players a bit of time to sort of bed in and get to know each other before the season starts?
Yeah, massively. We kind of finished the season and had some targets in mind, and some of them took longer than we'd like. But realistically, when you look compared to many other teams, I think we did our business fairly early and have had an opportunity to play the players together, which is great. But it's also about building up their fitness so that they're not injury risks, and hopefully we can get them for longer periods through the season as well. So I think the fitness and medical team have done a great job as well with the boys through the pre-season.
Yeah, and you've also got Cal Roberts back, who we've seen in pre-season and showing a bit of that magic, haven't we, with that great goal against York. How great is it to see him back doing things like that?
Yeah, and he's playing with a smile on his face. I think sometimes, as bad as it is to have a long period out, you kind of realise what you're missing as well, and then he's kind of come back with a renewed hunger and a renewed energy, and probably you take a lot less for granted, and it's a really frustrating year last year, but it can also make him a better player long term, because I think you kind of value every moment on the training pitch then, and he's been brilliant. He's been great obviously on the games, but also in and around training, helping raise the level. So yeah, it's great to have him back.
Given his return and the number of new signings and the fact that you've had a whole summer now to work with these players, how different do you think the Notts that we'll see on the pitch next season will be to the one that we saw at the end of last?
Well, I think that we were a good team at the end of last season. I think we developed a lot, and obviously now it's kind of like relearning everybody their roles and responsibilities within the team, and I think we've done that well. But also you learn about yourselves with each game that you play. So we're going to play some league games under pressure in different scenarios, and then I think we're going to find our feet during that as well. I think the players are understanding really how we want to play, but I think we're going to develop as the season goes on as well.
Have you been looking enviously at all at some of the other clubs with the amount of money that they've been spending? Wrexham bringing in players like Paul Mullin, for example, a player who's been scoring goals higher in higher divisions.
Not particularly. I think that they can put a lot of pressure on themselves when they make such big, high-profile signings. I think each club is going to have their own strategy, and some is to kind of spend big. And I think that we certainly haven't been shy in the transfer market, but I also think we've been quite strategic and patient. And I think we've got a way that we want to play and a way the club wants to go for a long-term vision. And I think we're working to that really. So I don't think we've been too reactive on other teams. Some teams have seen one player, big name, go, and then they felt we need to counter that by spending big as well. But I think we've kind of stayed calm and strategic in our plan. And I think the owners and we all have a long-term vision, so we're sticking to that.
Do you envisage it will be a tougher division though next year, even than last?
Yeah, I think so. If you consider that, and I don't mean this, I mean Sutton were the best team in the league because they won the league, but Sutton maybe if they didn't go up, may have lost one or two key players because of the way in which football works, and maybe wouldn't have been as strong this year. But instead, Sutton go up, and we get teams like Grimsby and Southend coming down, which are big clubs. And I think when you look across the division now at the size and the history of some of the clubs, it's probably as tough as the division's been. I think it's extremely strong, but it also makes it a very interesting division to watch, and I think it'll be watched with interest by a lot of people.
Yeah, interesting the way last season went. We saw Torquay set off like a train and go so far clear, but then ultimately, miss out because a lot of importance can be put on those early fixtures. But really, it's about kind of the long game, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's a long season, a very long season, and nothing will be defined in the first 5-10 games. But everybody wants to get off to a good start, and we really hope we can do that. But certainly, we want to grow as the season goes. We want to keep improving. And hopefully by the end of the season we're kind of peaking at the end and strong throughout. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of games to play. So we're conscious of that. But yeah, a great start would also help.
Yeah, good stuff, Ian. Thanks very much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Hi, Ian. Mark, are you okay?
Hi, Mark. You're right.
Not too bad, thank you. I'm just wondering, really, in terms of pressure on yourself this year. This has been mentioned. First kind of pre-season, hopefully first full season in charge, and then the stature of the club. How much pressure are you feeling on yourself this year, personally, to actually, bring Notts County back up to League Two?
Probably no more than I felt when I first arrived. The remit was the same to try to gain promotion, to improve the team, to improve the players that we've got. So the job is still the same. I think I've really, really good owners and a really good structure around me, which helps massively going into a season in terms of how you feel about your own role. And yeah, I mean, I think every coach probably puts pressure on themselves to do well. So that's a normal thing. But not excessive pressure more than I would normally feel going into a season.
You mentioned how tough the division is and with the clubs that are coming down. Do you think it's comparable to League Two?
Absolutely. I think it's becoming an extension of League Two. I think you look at the professionalism of many of the teams within the league. I think some of the structure and the setups and some of the players that are playing in this league, I think really when you watch League Two and when you watch the National League, certainly the top end of the National League, there's very little between it, which is a good thing because I think often, and that's represented that many teams that go up stay there, and I think that shows the strength of the clubs that are going out of this division. So yeah, I see not huge differences between the two leagues.
It was only a few seasons ago that the club finished 5th in League Two, and look at the last couple of seasons, and it's been playoffs, but obviously no promotion there. And spoken about the fans being back too. What do you think it's going to take for the club to actually make that step up to get back up to League Two? It's I suppose a range of things, and people often talk about the National League or the conference, however you want to call it, being that kind of trapdoor. There's a huge psychological thinking behind being in non-league football as opposed to being in the Football League. What will it take, do you think, either psychologically or tactically wise or club wise, to get Notts County back there?
Consistency with performances, and I think keeping key players fit for large parts of the season. I think you could see last season, obviously we missed Cal for long periods, players like Alex Lacey out for a long while. And then going into the playoffs, we had Jake Reeves struggling with injuries. Jim O'Brien missed the quarters and the semi-final. So I think having key players fit for long periods and gaining a consistency with how you play and not panicking. I think every team, I think when I came in, when we beat Sutton 3-2, people were starting to talk about maybe they'll have a wobble, and they were going through a little few bad results. And I think at some point every team goes through a bad period, but it's not to panic, to try to pick back up that consistency and yeah, it's going to be, like I said before to David, it's a long season with many games, so you've got to be in it all the way.
What did you learn about yourself in the bits that you were here for last season?
Question. I think I just trusted what I was doing. I've done this for quite a few years now. I did it for 7 years abroad, and I've had up periods and down periods, and I've known not to stress too much when when we have a down period, and I know not to get too excited when we have a good period. So just to stay focused on the job every day, and you know, I learned a lot about the league. I think I came into the league a bit cold, didn't know too much about teams, opposition, what to expect too much. But I think certainly I learned a lot about the league in the time that I was here, and we had a lot of games in a short space, which was a great learning experience.
There seems so much at stake for fans in particular, having come back to the stadiums, but also seeing the club where it is. They will be letting you know whether they're happy or unhappy. Will that be strange for you? Is that going to be a strange experience again as a manager, especially at this club?
It'd be more strange because when they were letting me know in Norway and Sweden, I didn't understand what they were saying. So that was, but no, listen, it's the same in every club. Fans are passionate. They're the heartbeat of the club. They're exactly the reason why we're all here. They pay their money. If we're not doing well, I'm absolutely sure that they're going to let me know about that, and that's no problem. That's what they're there to do. But I know full well, I've been around and seen and met so many fans, and they're extremely passionate about the club, and them getting behind the club is that will also happen. I know that we're going to get great support this year, and they'll give us a push. So I look forward to even the ups and the downs.
Final one from me, Ian. I know you've touched on bits of this before, and it comes very much with the territory. But is it a successful season only if the club gets promoted?
Probably, yeah. That's the reality, is that we all want to be out of the division. That's exactly what we want. So I guess a successful season is to get out of that division. So yeah, I would say a successful season is to get out of it. I don't think it will be successful if we don't. But you know, I've said before, there's other things that will happen within this football club on that journey. We'll develop players, we'll sell players, we'll build foundations, we'll build a long-term project. So there's many other things going on, but ultimately, yeah, success will be defined on whether we're up or down.
Thanks, Ian, and good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, Ian, I'm just obviously interested to know, you obviously managed in Scandinavia for a long time, and now you've had a chance to get well versed in the National League. What differences are there between both managing in Scandinavia and the National League? There's
a lot of differences, I would say. I think that what I found in Scandinavia was it was very tactical. The intensity and the tempo was a lot slower. It wasn't as physical, but it was very I mean, you know, you're coming up against, I guess, teams like Malmo, Rosenborg, AIK, Gothenburg, and they're very big grounds, big support, international players, but I would say the whole game is a lot slower. But yeah, you probably have to work a lot more on. I worked probably deeper with the opposition tactics, whereas here I think I've found that I've wanted to focus a lot more on ourselves and our work and what we're doing, and yeah, I think that the game here is so much more about intensity and a lot of direct teams, so the physicality is much bigger in this league.
How do they compare in terms of toughness? I mean, would you say one's tougher than the other? Are they both equally as tough but in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, equally as tough in different ways. You know, I was obviously only working in the top divisions over there, and yeah, it's tough to go to Malmo away. I mean, Rangers felt that the other night. They got knocked out of the Champions League by them, so it's no joke to go and take a team away from home and go and play there. It's extremely tough and demanding in front of 25, 30,000. So that's tough from one perspective, but then it's also tough to go away to Maidenhead on a poor pitch on a rainy evening and go and battle out a result there. So I think completely different challenges at times, but I think this one is about promotion, and it's extremely tough division to get out of because of all the teams. One is automatic and one in the playoffs, so I think that makes it quite a difficult league if you want to fight at the top.
Have you seen enough now of the division to suggest that the number of promotion slots should be increased?
Well, being a coach in the National League of a team trying to get out, I would say, yeah, it'd be great if they put another couple of slots to get promotion in there. I'd more than welcome that. I think because of the size of the clubs that are down here, how professional the league is now, the amount of televised games, the fans that are coming in, I see it that, you know, it would be welcome to see some of these clubs back in the Football League, and I think they would add so much to the Football League, a club like ours would. So yeah, I don't think it would necessarily damage League Two, and I think it would be a big benefit long term to have clubs like ourselves back up there. But at the moment there's only one, so we have to earn that by trying to win the league or get up in the playoffs. And you know, I haven't been in this league that long, so I'm not sure if I can start going around calling shots about how many teams are going up.
I mean, what's going to be key for you next season in terms of trying to get that promotion spot? What do you think your team has to be the most if they are to return to the Football League?
Consistent. I said it before, I think we've got to be consistent in a way that we want to play. I think that we're, of course, going to have to be able to score goals. But we did that at the back end of last season. I think from the Sutton game here through to the Torquay game, I think we averaged about 2.7 goals a game. So in terms of creating chances, we scored a lot. And then for us, it's about, I think we can make some improvements, obviously, in our defending and preventing the goals going in. But certainly we're going to need to be able to have some firepower.
How big of a role and how crucial is Callum Roberts to those ambitions?
Yeah, he's a big player for us. I think that's obvious. He's a very talented player, but it won't only be him that makes the difference. He's got to play in a system with the rest of the team that suits and that he can work within. And within that team, there's a lot of other talented players you can see. Ruben Woods, Cairo, Matty Palmer, the list goes on. So we want to be in a situation where we're not solely reliant on one player. I felt like last season, you know, when I came in, there was a lot of questions around Cal and the fact that he was going to be the talisman, and if he wasn't there, what was going to happen. But you saw at the back end of last season, Ruben stepped up and scored wonderful goals and drove the team on. So I think it's really important that we don't have one player that is the focus, but that there's a collective of them.
He was subjected to some quite heavy treatment against Solihull Moors last weekend, and I think his reputation speaks for itself in terms of how talented he is. Are you hoping he gets a bit of protection next year from referees?
Yeah, but I think he's going to have to deal with some rough treatment. I think he's going to have to learn how to cope with that, because I'm pretty sure he's going to get some rough treatment, whether that's in sight of the refs or not. But he's certainly going to be one that they earmark out not to allow space, time. But I think any good player has to understand that the opposition's job is to stop them. So I think the best thing for Cal is not to focus on whether or not he gets the protection, but just deal with it. And I think as other players step up, if we have 2 or 3 other players also playing to their capabilities, you know, they can't only double up on Cal. They might have to work players in other areas, and that will free up Cal. So I think us as a team can help protect him as well.
Can I ask about Alex Lacey? Is he any closer to a return?
Yeah, he is. Trained part of the session today and yesterday, so he started to be reintegrated into the group, which I think he's enjoyed. So I think over the next couple of weeks he'll step up the training now. He's out of physio, he's in with Huts, the fitness coach, working now to kind of build his match fitness up. So yeah, it could be 2 or 3 weeks, providing there's no setbacks. He's getting much closer.
And Ruben Rodriguez, I know obviously he came on and looked strong in the second half. Do you think he's available now to play a full 90?
Full 90, we'll see about that. It depends on the intensity of the game and what he's doing and how much he's running. But I definitely think he's looked well. And again, he's got to come through the sessions this week. But from what I saw in 45 minutes, he can be in contention to start against Barnet for sure.
And just finally, I mean, on Barnet themselves, how much homework have you been able to do on them throughout the course of pre-season? Have you been sent videos of what they're like? Because I know it's obviously Harry Kill's first full season in charge.
Yeah, we watched them play Tottenham 23s, which was their kind of last game before this one, and then we saw them play Peterborough. But they've had a lot of trialists in. They've tried different systems and different set pieces, different things, ways of working. So it's a little bit hard to read exactly what to expect. I'm sure there'll be a couple of new signings pop up this week. So I think we have to be ready to adapt a little bit and really focus on ourselves in this game and what we need to do.